I go any further, real quick, this week's announcement or this week's stream is brought to you by a big bone. I'm grabbing it with a Kleenex because I don't know if you've ever touched one of these, but they are greasy and disgusting, and I don't want to have to wash my hands. But as you can see, Mabel is loving it. In fact, she went through the trash and picked out the plastic wrap before when I went to wash my hands from opening the said bone. But anyway, she's pumped. Look at this. So hopefully this keeps her busy for the whole time. Okay, okay, okay. You're good. Here. Lay down. Can you get in here? Okay, sit down. Yeah, there you go. Okay, stay. All right. Awesome. Okay, so welcome to today's stream. I have to double check because it's pretty exciting. This stream I put out to the polls to see what people wanted me to build. So we're here rigging Kadence. This is the 5th week I think we've done this. Yeah, the 5th week, 5th episode, and I'm super excited. So the options for this week were to either what were we going to do? We were going to finish Kate's mouth, which would almost complete the head of the character. The other option was to show you some sweet hierarchy tricks. That didn't get any votes, actually, which is really interesting. I think that people might think that's a boring part of rigging, but I have some tricks to actually speed up that process and save you a lot of time. And usually when people say that, they just go like this, and they're like, what? So that's pretty cool about hierarchy. Those tricks will come, but I guess they are in waiting because nobody wanted to see that. And then the other option was to continue on with the body and the arms and the limbs and everything like that. So today I'm gonna double check. I want to double check live right now to see. Um, do, 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 do. Okay, so let me check LinkedIn first. That's where I posted that poll. Okay, so we got a total of 56% for finish the mouth, and 44% said break down and continue on with the body. So no lies, show you that right there. It was neck and neck the whole time. Actually, it was even. It was even split up until the last maybe like an hour before the stream. So pretty wild. And then let's see. I posted it on Instagram. But I did that really right before this stream, so I didn't give Instagram too much of a chance. But let's see, did anybody? Yeah, still same, neck and neck. Wow. So unless someone has an opinion in the chat and want to say what they want to do you want to finish the mouth or do you want to move on? It's pretty wild to sit here and think, oh, I'm going to be rigging something on TV and not actually know what it is that I'm rigging, or on Twitch, I should say, but live on the internet. So not know what I'm going to be doing today. That was pretty cool. So last chance, because it looks like we're rigging a mouth. All right. So as always, if you're following along at a later date, because I'm noticing that these videos are getting views quite after the fact, feel free to drop any comments, questions in the chats, especially on YouTube. You can always reach out to me on LinkedIn or Instagram. You can catch me there a little bit quicker. I have a response time. And then what else? Yeah, if you're working on this, I'd love to see what you're working on. So please share it with me on Instagram. Whether you want to share your workspace. I haven't even shown mine yet. I think it's because I kind of think it's a mess. So I think I'm stalling on that a little bit. It's not that bad though. But I'd love to see your workplace or your workspace or what it is, or hear what you're working on while I'm working on rigging a character. Again, This is what I do for TV for a living, or I used to do this for TV for a living. Now I train animators, and I'm training supervisors and and doing all these other cool things. So these are the skills that I developed over my career, and this is how I rig specifically for TV to that saves me time. I'm really big on efficiency. It's basically because I want my life back. so these are all the tricks that I developed so that I can gain as much of my time as I could. Um, so yeah, I'm gonna switch over to the screens. Boop, boop, boop. There we go. All right, and whoa, Mabel, she's all right. All right, so let's see this week. So this week we're going to focus on the mouth, which is pretty exciting. The reason why, can you hear her crunching in the background? I'm super curious. If you can. That's loud. My goodness, what kind of bone did I get you? Normally, you know what? She's kind of loud. Mabel, can I just move you to the other room? Hey, can I just put you in the other room? Because that's really loud. Come here. Come here, come here, come here. Come here, come here. Come on, come on, come on. That's really loud and distracting. Okay, so what was I saying? Okay, reasons why I wouldn't necessarily rig the mouth at the same time as rigging the head. It's actually really common for um, a rigging team to not have the designs for the mouth. So we might have the initial design, which you can see here in the actual design package. So we have like you can see his smile, you can see his little cheeks. But typically, what it is the mouth is usually has a lot more design aspects to it, and they have to be requested. If a character is going to talk, especially, you have to have the mouth the mouth and the lips and the mouth chart designed by designers. So we usually request that. And so I'm usually adding them at the end because they'll come in at a much later time. So that's why I gave the option, because if we're staying true to how I work, that's it. I don't typically add the mouth right away, but I'm really happy to go this way because we're going to get really close to finishing this package. And actually, we should do the static transformation for the eye and finish up the eye as well to give him a cute little face. So what we can do, so I'm going to hide the eyes for now. We'll focus on the mouth, and when I focus on the mouth, what I do is I will actually deactivate all the pieces around it so that I have a very clear like view of everything that I'm looking at and what I need. So we're going to import the old, not the old design, the new design, the post sheet for the mouth. And if you're reading along with me, if you hadn't downloaded the post sheet from my website, you can find that over in my services page. And I believe if you look right, no, this way. No, actually, it's my website is. Let me do. Let's see, what is the command for a website? Let's see. Oh, does not exist. Is it just social? Oh, did I not? Okay, well, here, I'll just type it. There you go. So if you head over to my website, which is just lindsaynola.ca, I think /services would bring you right to my services page. You'd be able to download the post sheet, and you could finish this next step with us. So, all right, let's see. Let's deactivate the head, the cheeks, and the top portion of the head. And now we can see Kadence. It's been a while since we've seen his whole face. And let's go into importing images. So we're going to browse around. I already have the pose sheet right there in my design package folder. And that looks good. That looks good. We're gonna import the images as the original, or keep as Toon Boom bitmap drawing. That just gives us the clearest picture. You wouldn't necessarily want to do that if you were working in animation, because they could add a little bit of weight. But with the designs with rigging, it's fine. And then we don't have to worry about color space, and we don't have to worry about alignment, and the transparency can be kept as straight. So we just hit OK. And if we jump out of our group, right here, we're going to have our pose sheet. You can't see it because it is layered behind. So if I just pop that in front, the nice thing about this too is what we're going to do is we're going to kind of organize the top portion of our node view while we're here. So all right, so we've got our Kade post sheet right here. I'm just going to give it a peg. We're going to have to resize it, but for now, we will leave it. And I'm going to add a new composite. So Control H. And this composite here, I'm going to move that over. And I'm going to leave this peg here because I know that that's from the back view. That's from last week's episode. All right, so I can deactivate my final design because I don't technically need to see that right now. But the nice thing about this is that I can see, actually, that's not true. I do need to see this for a quick second. So at the very first my very first episode, we were creating the scene, we were opening Harmony for the first time, we set our preferences, our keyboard shortcuts, we created our new drawing, and then I kind of walked you through the steps of what it looked like to start a show when you're building the first character and you have no reference at all. How do you kind of go about that? So because I've done this a couple times now, I've gotten pretty comfortable with that scenario. But what does typically happen for every show, every episode, every character, every prop that gets built is there is a size comparison. And so at the time, at that first episode, I keep calling them their episodes, their streams. But at the first one, we didn't have anything to compare it to. So I was building it from scratch right there. But now we're getting into something where you have to kind of estimate the time, or not the times, the scales for all of the pieces, all the moving pieces. So we're going to have to do that today, and I'm going to show you what that looks like. And we're not necessarily sizing our character to the main cast, like, or our prop to the main cast, but in a sense, we're going to rescale our mouse comp so that it fits the character, which is actually the same process. So what we're going to do here is super transferable to every time you start a new character. You should be size comparing to a main cast, a main character for the show. And usually it looks something like this. So if I quickly deactivate the group for the character, we can see that our character here, that is the scale. He's drawn. It's pretty good. Maybe a little bit small here, but we've got all the pieces. They're all about the same size. They're very consistent. And then we have our mouth right here, which we're gonna add all these pieces. We'll do expressions another time. We won't do the expressions on the face today. Yeah, we won't do that today. We won't get to it today anyway. But I don't think we're going to do that right away yet. And then, also, I'll do a quick shout out. I've been shouting out to Maywa for a while now, but again, another reason to say he's a fabulous designer. He did these post sheets for us as well as the designs for Kadence. So if you are interested in following his work, he's got some great comics on Instagram. So it's Maywa on Instagram. And so, yeah, follow him. He's fantastic. And yeah, we're going to resize this design, this post sheet, so that it matches our character. Hello, Toontastic. Hello. Nice to see you here. And yeah, let's keep going. So first, what we got to do is we kind of have to align our character. Let's bring Cadence back. We have to align our character, and even though I've hidden the pieces for his face, if you kind of remember, the face is still being built on the design. So we're going to use the design image reference instead of the character. So, and this is where it becomes very similar. Oh, no worries. I'm sorry that you can't hear me too well. I want to yell into the mic, but I don't think that's really good for the mic itself. and uh, if you have any questions, feel free to drop them in the chat. If you want to take a photo or let me know what you're working on, I'd love to see it. And you can send it to me on Instagram. I'd love to see what you're doing at the same time. If you're doing homework, that's pretty cool. That's my goal. Like, to be honest, I just want to, if you're working on animation, it's super hard. And you just need time to set aside to practice. That's all it is. So I'm setting aside 2 hours a week to, I'm not practicing, but I'm showing off all the skills. But if you're setting around those 2 hours a week, like, what is it that you're working on? So feel free to let me know. I'm super curious. Yeah. So welcome. And let's see. So, okay, so we're gonna match up our post sheet to the actual design, and this is where almost exactly the same as what you're gonna do when you're building a character prop or whatever. You have to align it to the actual scaled model of your main cast. Like I've said that like 3 times. So Mm-hmm. So we know that our character is being built to the scale of this design. So this design is considered the master design. And it has all of the information that we need. So that is the Cade final. Now, what we gotta do is we're gonna use this transparency node. I love working with transparency nodes because I can just turn them on and off. I find that there's other ways to do this. You can go into the layer properties here, um, and you can go all the way to advanced. Yeah. So under the advanced tab for the layer properties, you can come here and you can turn your opacity down. I do know a lot of people like to do that. I just don't like to have, if I want to bring that opacity back for whatever reason, I have to go into the node. As I've mentioned it before, I'm really lazy. So I like this on and off system. So I usually keep this at 100. And then I'll just put my transparency node there. And now you can't see, the goal here is we have to see both our design and our post sheet so that we can kind of like line them up magically. So what we're going to do is we're just going to, again, we're just layering this the post sheet behind. And now we can see it. When we grab the peg, we can see both the post sheet and the design. If you grab the Cade's final design, you can see that here even though it's behind, now it's in front, but the transparency is removed. That's kind of why people like to use the option inside of the drawing. It's mainly because if they grab the peg, it removes the transparency. That doesn't bother me enough. I still like this method, but you can use both, however it works for you. And so I'm just going to quickly bring the post sheet to the right side of Cade's final design, just so that I have a little bit of order. Again, I don't like to cross these blue streams. I like things to be very, like, it's in this order and it's very easy to find so that you're not looking at spaghetti. So here I've got Cade's final design, and I want to scale the post sheet so that it's bigger. So from here, all we have to do is basically what I like to do is I like to line up. Actually, there's 2 ways I like to do this. So I'm either going to start from the feet and do it this way, and in this case, it's the better way to do it. I will temporarily move the pivot to the feet of the character, and that's just because I'm aligning the bottom of both designs. So the feet and the feet are matching. But the problem with this is that we have so much space up here that when we zoom out, and I try to, and I'm holding shift down, like to make sure that I'm keeping it scaled and accurate both sides. But because the design is, I'm like losing that, it makes it harder for me to sometimes scale it up. So in this case, what might also be easier, I'm just gonna undo that and I'll do it one more time. So I might actually go the opposite way where I will put, and I need to deactivate the hair to see. Try that one more time. So I'll just temporarily put it here. So I'm gonna line up the line where the head matches, and the reason why I'm doing that is because it just oh the film wasn't there. It's okay. You're right on time. You made it. And we got it since I'm already chatting. We got an animation student from the same program that you are from, and I'm interested in bringing. I'm an animation student from the same program that you're from, like St. Clair College. Like you're from in Windsor. I'm wearing my Detroit shirt. Is that on? Is that not a coincidence? Oh, that's so cool. Total side note. I don't know if you've access to Crave, but I was watching. Rich told me, "Oh, I'm so glad." Tell Rich I say hi. Tell Rich I'll be emailing him soon. um, total side note. I've been watching this TV show on Crave called The Detroiters, and if you're in Windsor and you get to go to Detroit often, as often as I did, I went a lot. But it's the funniest thing I've ever seen, and it's the most Detroit. It makes me feel like I'm at home. I've been away from home for so long. Um, but if you haven't seen that show yet, like huge shout out. And I think that's why I put on my Detroit shirt today, because I actually saw it on the TV show and I just finished it last night. So um, I highly recommend checking out Detroiters on Crave. I thought that was so funny, and I don't think I've laughed that hard in a long time. But anyway, I really felt seen. Really felt seen watching that one. Oh, that's so cool. Yeah, definitely not sponsored by Detroit, although that'd be cool too. Um, but anyway, okay, yeah, you'll have to tell Rich I said hi, and that's really awesome. I'm glad that you can make it. Okay, back to scaling this design. So I wanted to show you because the design is we have the design is basically in the bottom right hand corner. We have all the space up here that it just makes it harder to grab. So I'm basically aligning it to the top of the head of the character. And again, we favor one of the sizes because if you're just grabbing it from the center, it's a lot harder to scale. I'm not holding the button. It's a lot harder to scale. It's like you kind of got to eyeball it, then you got to eyeball it. And actually, I did pretty good. That's 10 years of experience there for you. But what you can do to shortcut that is just to leave that little forehead piece or that line. And then you can put the pivot point and just temporarily move it. You can see you're temporarily moving it right here. You can see that you can still see the old like ghost pivot, as I call it. It's still there. It's haunting the center. So it just means it'll snap back. But now what you can do is your pivot point is going to anchor that design right there. So if you hold down shift, you're going to be able to scale it. And I'm a little off center, but you can see that it's pretty good. Now, that is exactly how you would scale for if you were matching the design. And when you're in this stage too, I like to say, because I've gotten pretty good at this, but when you're new to the software, that might take you a couple tries just to get it really accurate. And so when you're at that phase, you don't have to be perfect. Again, when you're working in television, you have to learn which details to really focus on and which details to let go. And that one becomes one that becomes very important to people, that they want to scale their design perfectly. And I like to say, if you're at 85%, If you're off by like a little bit, it's not gonna change. It's not gonna, like, if you're off by like this much, it's not gonna it's not gonna change the design so much. So and again, it's always gonna depend on the show that you're working on as well. But for 99% of the time, 85% is a good thing to aim for across the board all the time. In rigging it, you can get into that perfectionist mode, and eventually what that does is it just like backlogs work that you're trying to get through. So you could just be as close as you can. In this case, the mouth, we have to actually resize it down, because if you take a look here, right, put this actual mouthpiece on there, it's about 3 times the size. So we do have to scale it down just a little bit. Oh, okay. Yeah, no worries. The chat's, well, the chat's gonna be here, but the video will be there, and then after a week, it will be moved to YouTube. So in 1 week, it will be moved to YouTube. So it will be available online. And good luck with your 3D tank model. That sounds intense. That sounds exactly like the kind of homework that you'd be given um, in a tradigital animation course. Oh, so cool! Happy to have you here. Yeah, bring your headphones the next time. So cool. Blast from the past. All right. So what's next? What's next? Okay. So we have to actually scale this down. So we'll put the pivot point. Let me bring. Oops, I've got the pivot point, or the mouth, over top of the mouth, but let me put the pivot point there, and I'm just gonna scale that down. And we're going to align it. We're just gonna align the cheek a little bit better, and that actually looks perfect. So there we've got our first mouth picture. And then we're gonna set this up. We have to draw all these pieces. So I like to kind of, I like to put these designs in so that I kind of have something to work off of. So on the first drawing, we don't want to, we're not adding teeth here, but we are gonna have to add all the teeth and all the pieces. So I'm gonna go to my pose sheet, and I'm also gonna bring this over to frame 2. So I'm gonna do, if your design, if anything disappears, which our rig is gonna disappear on frame 2, but I'll bring it back. Right now it's deactivated, so we can't see it. But if for some reason your designs disappear or they turn off, what you can do is um, just, what is the shortcut for that one? Oh, that's so funny. Do I ever forget that shortcut? 5? Is it 5? No, 5 sets a key. Film who wasn't there. F5. Is it F5? Yes, it is. Thank you. You can hit F5, and that'll extend your frames. I think that there's also a button here. Is it this one? Nope, fill empty cells. Oh, wow, my first forgotten shortcut. And also, I do think that I actually changed all my shortcuts. So I haven't used F5 to do that in a long time. So exposure, we'll go to oh, extend exposure. There we go. Yeah, F5. That's so funny. All right. You can do that, but you can do that with your post sheets and your designs. But I'm going to go to frame 2. I want to set a keyframe. I'm also going to bring it up in the timeline to make sure that I am doing this on in the right spot. So on frame 2, I'm going to set a keyframe because you can see that it's not here. So keyframe right there. And on frame 3, I'm just going to slowly kind of push the drawings over. And we're just going to make sure that they are aligned. I wonder if we're going to have to draw these a little bit lower. So let's see, typically your top of your mouth is not too open. Let's see. We can always make small adjustments to this later. We'll do the third drawing on the third frame, technically the fourth frame. So getting a little more excited here. Yeah, looking good. Starting to feel very animated. And then we'll do the widest mouth. And as long as there's no popping, we want to make sure that we're watching the corners of the mouth. That's what's really important here. We're watching to make sure that this portion of the mouth isn't moving back and forth this way. This is going to be really important when you do your lip sync. There's a lot of rules for lip syncs, and I mean, I'm probably not even going to be able to remember them all. Actually, as I'm doing this, but like your top lip doesn't move too much. You'll find that in television too, if you actually watch your cartoons, the top teeth. The rule is the top teeth are attached to the skull, so they're not going to move. But if you think about it, like you're animated, so those top teeth can move on you. So depending on what show you're working on, those top teeth do move a little bit. Oh, cool! Making stream markers. Yeah, if you see anything cool on the stream while you're watching this, yeah, if you type in the commands, which is exclamation point marker, you'll drop a little marker in your timeline, so we can always come back to that portion. Thank you. Yeah, well, it's a pretty good tip too. This is pretty cool tips. If you see something cool, you can drop a marker in the timeline or drop a marker in the chat. But yeah, when you're doing your mouse charts, like the most thing, the biggest thing that you want to watch for is like the fluidity. You want to make sure that it's believable. So I find that again, depending on the show that you're on, you want to. I do typically make sure the top teeth are anchored. However, again, I see that people will change it in the designs on purpose, or like the directors do want to see like a little bit of wiggle. So it's not the worst if there's a little bit, but the side to side motion is really important. You always want to make sure, like, it's okay if they're growing, but you want to make sure they're not like here and then over here and then back over here. Like, you want to really make sure that they're anchored. Like, if they're growing this way, but they're not like kind of not jittery. You always want to look for that jitter. So you can kind of start to see that right here. And I think I could keep going and finishing this, but right now I really just want to start working on the mouth. How many things do I have? Oh, I have two left. I might as well. Okay. So next frame, and do this. And then last one, and we're actually gonna add a mouth. Ooh, we're gonna add a little ooh mouth, but we'll do that at the very end. Do this just to mark it, but for now. Okay, so I'm gonna save. I'm gonna bring back Kadence. And yeah, what I like to do when I'm working on the mouth. Oh, I gotta make sure I change these. Those tools, turn that on. And so let's jump into the network. We have our crease already built. We've got our mouth already built. We've got to add our top teeth and our bottom teeth and our tongue. We're gonna have to add some of these colors as well. All right, and we'll just go with standard colors. I'll bring those around. All right, so let's build our top teeth. So when I build all the assets on the inside of the mouth, what I like to do is I go to a second frame and I just kind of take the artwork that's there. So a same in the same fashion where we did with the hair, we analyzed the back view to make sure that the front view was kind of more accurate. We want to make sure that we're looking at all of these, and you can kind of see that the top teeth are essentially in the same spot. I think that this pose right here, they're a little bit lower, but in the rest, they look pretty good. And again, these are just free-handed, so they're not, it's not a perfect design sheet, but it's pretty close. We've got all the assets here, all the elements. So I'm gonna go to, let's say frame 3. And I'm gonna actually take my finger. This is a trick that I've learned. If you take a post-it note, if you want to check, you can also, there's a couple ways to do this, but I like to just do a post-it note. You can actually take the post-it note and align it on your screen. You can't see me doing this right now. This is an old school trick. But then I guess an alignment guide would probably work right now too. But here you can just kind of, I can pop the, but what I can see here is that the teeth are actually like the teeth are actually popping by about this much. So I want to make sure that I'm kind of grabbing the most accurate teeth to kind of cement it into this design. So before I start drawing, I almost feel like I should take a photo and put it on my Instagram. All right, so actually the teeth are pretty higher than in this pose. So if we go with the second one, we'll add our teeth here. Although when you're like showing this face, your teeth are really, I mean, they're technically always in the middle, but it either means that we have to move all of our designs down so that they match the middle, or I'll just move the one design. We'll see what that looks like. All right, so on frame 3, we're gonna start, we'll start drawing our teeth here. And I'm going to use, where are my layer filters? Where'd those go? Hang on. Art layers. There they are. All right. All right. So I'm going to use a rectangle. My tools. Okay. All right. My colors. Okay, I don't have the colors picked yet either, so I got to pick these. But this is the shape that I like to use for my teeth. Let me bring this in from a little bit more of an alpha. And again, these teeth, you want these to be like big enough that they are fitting on all these screens. So you're gonna have to go a little wider. Might go this wide. And then I'm also, you think about the angle of which the character is at. So right now we're looking at the, what exact point are you looking at to check if they move position on the other poses? So I was jumping back and forth between the images, and that's what I was doing was I was using a post-it note because that's the easiest way for me. I've got post-it notes everywhere, so I'll just grab a post-it note, put it down, and then as I flip through the frames, you can see exactly how far the images are. But what you can also technically do, and I didn't show this, is and this is again, this is before we had alignment guides, is you can actually take the bottom of your screen, and then you can use that as a ruler. And so you can see that this one here, the teeth are a lot higher than right here. So you can go like this, you can go like this, or here, or here. But you can see that this is they're more accurate up here than they are down here. So there's a couple ways to kind of do this. So I just want to build teeth that are a little bit bigger for the mouth right now before I get too far ahead of myself. And to make this a little bit bigger. This is just like a very standard shape for teeth, for top teeth. And that just allows you to kind of have that. You can always like you can have that edge, and we can add deformers to this too, so that when you're in animation, you've got like the back of your teeth. You kind of have that perspective of the teeth going off, and then at the front, you have that like sharp. I don't know if I'm giving you the proper, but you have that proper like it'll just cut off the tooth a little bit to like the sharp edge, so that you know where the teeth kind of end. But with deformers, you can kind of we're just creating this soft shape right now, but you can create that harder shape with the deformers if you need it. And yeah, let's see. Oh, and then let me see. Let me bring in alignment guides so that we're show you that too. An alignment guide. There's an actual toolbar for that. So if you right click up here, we've got an alignment guide, and I will just add a horizontal one. And then, yeah, the alignment guide works as well. So, but that's a newer tool, so it's not necessarily one that I used while in production. So it's not in my like muscle memory skill set. But that is a good one. That one came out while I was working for Toon Boom, and that's a very handy. That's a very handy tool trick. So I think I could just hit delete. Nope, I can't. I just pull that off screen to get rid of it. There we go. And I'm going to color in the teeth now, but I need to give it its own color. So let's see, we got the, let's see, I do teeth. With television, you just want to make sure that you are kind of, oops, how did I do this? I did that wrong. With television, you want to make sure that you're not using like the purest colors, like but sometimes you still kind of do. So whites we tend to avoid, and reds we tend to avoid. And you know why I avoid the color red? Angry. And actually, a lot of that actually comes from this. I think is we can't use this color on television, because when you see this on screen, it doesn't look right compared to any other color. It's so vivid. It's so bright. And so that's kind of where that term angry red came from. It's actually this theory is that you never want to use the purest red color when you're picking colors. So whites do this, and reds do this, and blacks also do that. So you technically, you're always kind of going for like very, you just kind of want to like nudge it a little bit in a direction. So teeth are actually not quite white ever. They're actually a little, they're made to be a little bit grayer than you'd expect. So we can do this. We can go a little bit grayer if we want, but let's, though it's going too dark now. Let's go back to the multi-wheel, and we'll just pick something in here. We can go a little blue if we want to like see what that looks like. All right, let's see. And then we can fill that. Maybe that's too blue. There we go. Yeah, so that's pretty good. Now we've got our colors for our teeth, and we need, we have the inner mouth. We're gonna, are we gonna change the color of this inner mouth? We'll leave it for now. No, we'll leave it. It's a different color than usual. Usually it's like a pinky bubblegum red that we use for the inner mouth. But we'll leave it, and then we'll do the tongue. We got the teeth. We can need the tongue. TONGUE. And this color here is usually like a bubble gum. It's a lot brighter, always a lot brighter than I think that it is. That looks good. Maybe a little bit brighter. Perfect. All right, so oops, lost my color palettes. How'd that happen? All right, so we got our teeth. Got our character. Where is our... Now I'm just going to grab my artwork and I'm shifting it over. What I'm doing right now is I'm just taking my artwork and I'm going to leave it so that it's not going up and down. I'm just going to use the arrow keys and I'm just going to move it to the left. And then that way we kind of have a better understanding of where our teeth are. So in this case, I think that it will probably be better that we stick to the design. So when he opens its mouth, his teeth are going to pop a little bit, but I think that's okay. I've seen that a lot in television, and I've done that on cartoons. So I think we're going to leave it. I don't think we need to edit it too much. So we'll do that. And then we also need our bottom teeth. So I'm just going to copy this artwork. I'm going to bring the network back. And what we're going to do here is we're just going to flip this artwork down. Where's my tool properties? So just by using this button right here, you can actually set up hotkeys, and maybe I should do that right now because I love to flip. I love to, like I said, I love to steal artwork and I love to flip it. So let's see. Let's set up some hotkeys, some preferences, some shortcuts, not preferences. And this one is the drawing mode. You can flip. What I do like about these hotkeys is you can flip your transform tool and you can flip your drawing tools, your drawings themselves, and you can use the same shortcut. So 4 and 5 tend to be the natural flippers for. It's an industry standard from where I am. Let me know if it's different from where you are, if you're working in the industry, if you get in there. But let's see, we're going to flip. Let's search for it. FLIP. Flip. Nope, not that one. Flip horizontal. Yeah, we got 4. And flip vertical is 5. You do want to remember that because that is for your transform tool. We want to make sure, and you can see under camera, that's set. So we just want to remember 4 is horizontal, but we want to find the drawings. What is this one? Ellipse tool. Here we go. Flip horizontal, flip vertical. So when I say 4, oh, where'd it go? And shortcut is, oh, where'd it go? Lost it. Okay. So flip horizontal is 4. We're going to duplicate it, and flip vertical is 5. And now you've got a shortcut across the board. 4 and 5 will just flip everything, and that's a very handy thing to set up, especially when you're drawing. All right, so now we can move our teeth. We just want to have, our teeth are already behind the top teeth, so now we already have that like cute little smile. And if he opens their mouth, so peg. So if I was to, you have that natural bend in the teeth. I'm gonna remove this peg. All right, so now we can move forward and draw the tongue. And again, I'm gonna kind of steal this artwork here, but I'm gonna bringing it over here. So ellipse tool, just a quick circle. All right, so here we go. And let me pull that over and put it towards the back of the throat, closer to center, but a little off to the side. All right, so now we've got our teeth, we've got our mouth. Our mouth is not on frame 3, so now what we need to do, we do want to go and make sure that we bring these back to frame 1. Or just check all of our frames, I should say. All right, so we want to be watching this. So right now we've got drawings all the way up to, it's going to be frame 8. Just looking, my things are missing. Let's see, let's put advanced animation up here. And my timeline view, I have it all. Okay. All right, so what was it? F5. We'll bring our artwork forward. So we want to extend all these drawings. So let's do that all the way to frame 8. So F5. There we go. And so you can kind of start to see it turns into a little bit of a layering mess because we don't have any network set up yet, but it's coming. So here we've got our drawings, and you can kind of start to see that they're a little bit too big for they're for the original design, so that's okay for right now. But what we want to do is, and also let me double check that I added my blank drawing. Also want to make sure that I have those. I do. I've got 2 teeth. Okay, that's new. All right. So let's see. We're in the mouth. All right. So we want to add our cutter so that we can only see through that. And so with our mouth, again, this is a really similar network to when we were building the eye. So essentially, we're basically just going to turn our mouth into an eyeball. So, there's a shortcut for that. We can go to our eyeball and we can steal the networks that we've started here. So I didn't clean up the eyes with copy. What would you call it? I didn't clean up the eyes with the backdrops, but if you wanted to, you can clean those up. You can add a backdrop. You can even almost steal one of those backdrops and bring them in here. But I will do this. Here is my eyeball network, and that every drawing has a line art layer, a color art layer, and an underlay. Like in our eyes, we didn't use the color art layers. Let's just double check this real quick to see exactly how we've used it. Oh, it looks like I actually, oh, just my eyebrows. Okay, so over here, we do have our color arts used for the eyeball. So if we jump between the layers, the artwork, where is the eye? Activated? It is active. Oh, it's on the wrong frame. That's why. Gotta go back to frame 1. All right, so if we check our color art layer, we do have our individual layers separated here. So we just have to follow that same pattern. So we're gonna bring that same idea. We're gonna put our line art on the line art, our color art on the color art, and then we're gonna hook up our network. And then we're gonna have it so that we have an inverted cutter and our teeth and all of our properties are showing through the mouth. All right, so let's jump over to the teeth and we'll go to that frame where we have everything. All right, so we're going to steal, we've got our overlay, our line art, and our color art here. So this, add a backdrop. You can make that easily grabbable. Our cutter there. We know we're going to have multiple things going into our cutter. And so in this case, what I like to do when I'm swapping out a network like this is, yeah, oh, again, we have to find all the shortcuts that we can. So when I'm swapping out a network like this, in this case, we don't have an eyebrow. So actually the eyebrows will be the cheeks. So I'm lying. We do technically have an eyebrow. But we will change it a little bit because we're not using cutters. But when I have a network like this and I'm kind of reusing it, what I like to do is keep it very separate so that if I make a mistake, I can kind of go back and I can either go back to where it is now, because this is a very obvious way to see what's happening in your network. It's very clear. Or you can kind of go back to the part where you do know where you are. But if you get totally lost, just come back, start over from here. But what I do then is I take the composite that is attached to all of the mouse, and I bring that all the way down. So here, and I'm actually just going to use the bolt cutters, and I'm just going to sever right there. Take this off. And I'm going to just pop that composite into this composite. I would like to stay and keep with the mouth composite right here, so I'm going to just delete this one. Here we go, and then that becomes my composite. But now there's just a lot of space, and that's okay, because what we're gonna do is we're gonna slowly kind of bring all this information back up. So let me do this, and again, we're gonna need more space in the network. So this right here, from the eye is the mouth. Let me get rid of this. We need this one to be here. So we'll keep all of the other pieces for the mouth behind. And now we can hook up the mouth to all of these little art layers. Whoops. And now we gotta go into our artwork and we gotta make sure everything's on the proper layer. So right now I didn't go in and change that artwork. It's all on the same layer. So I'm gonna cut it and I'm just gonna put that on the color layer. And now it should work. And now we can't see our, where's my, oh, I've got this one. All right, hang on. I forgot. Our eye network had a fancy extra cutter because we added the line arts. We did some stuff with the lines of the pupil, so that we can have some cool engineering tricks. So let's make sure that we don't have that. So in this case, we actually don't want this cutter to be attached to the line art, but we are going to use so it's really just this cutter that we're going to remove. We're going to delete it. And so this right here is the composite for the masks. So we can bring all this over here. And the top teeth can go into the pupil composite. I'm going to rename that, but the top teeth, bottom teeth, and then we've got the tongue behind all the way in the back. And so let's just, we'll call this the inner teeth or teeth composite, or inner mouth composite. All right, so now we've got all of our details in there and you can start to see that our mouth is taking shape. Now, what we've done is we've done the original design and we've just brought in the elements of the designs into the original, but we don't necessarily need it at this frame. So if we now go back to frame 1, we're gonna need our creases. I don't know if we're gonna need, I'll just pop these into the line art right now because I know they're there. I don't know if we're gonna need these layer filters for here. So I might just delete them all and just leave those 2 connections because our mouth is not super complicated. We just have to make sure that we hit all the designs and add all the drawings. So now I'm on frame 1 and I have no teeth, which is good. But if you remember, we want to make sure that we don't have any holes or gaps in our timeline. So we want to make sure that we're not. So right now, I somehow managed to add a blank drawing through here. So I'm just going to steal the drawing number 1, and that is on the line art. And I'm just going to bring it to drawing number 1. And I'm going to do that for both top teeth, and I bet it's for the tongue as well. It's probably something that I didn't fix while we did the Mistake Monday. All right, so bottom teeth, little X. I want it to be on drawing 1. And the tongue, little X. And then on, if I go back to drawing 2 for all of these, I can actually delete them by selecting all 3 of these. And this trick, when you're deleting exposures, you always want to be watching your timeline because every once in a while, it's not every time, but about 20% of the time, when you delete your exposures, your selected exposures, all of your exposures get deleted. So you always want to watch because if you accidentally delete all of your exposures, you will be kicking yourself. And you will have to go back in and draw all your exposures. And sometimes a lot of these kinds of mistakes happen when you get into hands and mouths. And at that point, or feet, at that point, you have a lot of drawings for hands, a lot of drawings for feet, and a lot of drawings for mouths. So you always, always, always want to keep an eye on your timeline when you're doing this trick. So bring it up in your timeline, keep an eye on your library, because it will be very obvious if all of these little notches disappear instead of just one. So right click, go to exposure, and go to, all right, we're gonna go to delete exposure. Where are you? No, drawings. Oh my gosh, I'm getting all of them confused today. Drawings. Delete selected drawings. So here we go. Now it looks like it's pretty good. Looks like all three of them, they still have the two drawings. That's excellent. So on drawing one, if you remember, I made a big stink over our ZZ drawings. This is why they're important. This is why we use it. In our design, we do not have, for the first pose, for the rotation, we do not have teeth or a tongue. So all exposures, as in it would clear the timeline for all. Yes, it could. Yes, yeah. So you always want to make sure that you just double check, because all you have to do is undo and do it again, and it'll work fine. It's really a weird fluke, and it still happens to this day. I think at the first time, the first couple of times that happened to me, I just lost all my exposures because I didn't notice, and then over time, I started to notice that it wouldn't be all the time, but it would be most of the time, or not most of the time, but it would happen every once in a while. And then I smartened up, and then I started watching it. It's about 20% of the time, so that's 1 out of 5 characters. So that it's could happen to you once a month, essentially. If you're doing this every day, it's definitely going to happen to you once a month. It's not a bug, and it's not human error. It's just every once in a while it deletes all the drawings instead of just the ones that you want. So you want to be careful. You just want to be aware. Again, it's one of those tricks that you pass on because you know the software so well that you don't even realize that you're doing it sometimes. But you do want to watch out. All right. So next. All right, so we want to turn these drawings off. This is why we created blank drawings. So we're putting these drawings to sleep. We do not need to have teeth or tongue in our first original drawing. And then we go to our second drawing. In our second drawing, our design does change, but I have my two designs up right now, so I can barely see the other one. So let me get rid of the final design because it's kind of overpowering now. And so this is where we can start to create more drawings for our character. So in our post sheet, so we're going to duplicate this drawing. When I get into the mouth, so the one thing that you want to make sure, I kind of mentioned it earlier, like when your mouth is opening for a mouth chart, your top lip is also kind of like, it's kind of steady. Like the 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 top portion at the very top of your lip, it's not moving too much. Like, I mean, there's always exceptions to the rule, but when you're just naturally talking, the top portion of your lip is can be pretty stable. So you kind of want to always watch this top portion of the line. Um, and so if I go back and take a look at my original design, I'm just going to duplicate this. So I'm just going to use this button right here where I duplicate the drawing. And then in this case, it's so close, I'm just going to delete the bottom. And I'm going to delete the color, as in this case. And we'll turn this drawing off as well because it's not in the design. Although for the front view, it probably should be. So I'm just going to undo. I'll leave it. I'll leave it for the front view. We'll turn it off for the quarter front when we get to that part. But here now you can see there's no popping. So the reason why I start to copy and paste, the top of the mouth is usually a fixed point. It's like, it's a stable point. Again, it's going to depend on your director. Every director is different. But you don't have like a ton of movement in the top. Like you kind of do, but it kind of ramps up. So it depends on how much kind of animation. We'll get into it. We'll take a look at our animation and we'll do what's best for our character. So for now, I'm just showing you that a lot of times I'm copying and pasting this artwork to give me that cheat. And it also makes sure that I'm not like redoing the artwork, because if you redo the artwork, you're double guessing. You can bring that line down, and then all of a sudden you have a dip. And it's not like we talk like not like your lip goes down for a second, right? So it's always, if you're opening your mouth, it's always going up or down, but like it's not doing that. So we don't want it to go any further. So copying and pasting always gives you a really stable way of creating your mouth charts without having any like excess popping. So okay, drawing 1, drawing 2. Now we're going to drawing 3. And so here, the cheeks start to disappear, so we can turn these off. And we're going to change up our shape dramatically. And this is also, the character's mouth is a little asymmetrical, so we're going to add that in here. Okay. Yes, it is cool. So we're going to add this in there. So I'm just going to use, I'm going to make sure that I'm on the right layer. A circle. This color. And I'm going to leave this line in here because, oh, did I not duplicate it? Wait a minute. Hang on. Drawing 2, drawing 3. Yes, okay, I did not duplicate it. So make sure you duplicate your drawing. We're on drawing 3 for frame 3. That makes sense. Let me double check frame 2. I don't want this. I'll delete that. All right, we're good. All right, so we've got this. Now, what I like to do is, this is why I work with shapes. One, because it always gives me the contour points in a way that are like they're equal. So I like that. I like having that that information that I know is going to be there. So, for instance, with a circle, you always know that you're going to have 2 dots at the end. You'll have 2 dots in the center, and then you'll always have like 2 in the middle. So I kind of start to work with that as I go. So in this case, I can bring this in. I'm going to delete. Oh, I added an extra point there. I'm going to delete this and delete this. Oh, I'm using my mouse for another reason. Let me go like this. And then, you know what? I'm going to take this. I'm going to delete this line because I know that if I want to bring it back, I can here. Because in this case, it's a little bit too crowded. But most of the time, I kind of leave it. And it just kind of acts as a guide. Oh, I don't use that. Right. All right, so now we've got our first mouth, and we'll double check. Okay, and then we can fill this so that we can make sure that our teeth are showing properly. This is the inner mouth. Okay, so now we could go to our teeth, and again, we turn the drawing's not showing it all right now. This would be considered a gap, but we want to bring our drawing 1 back. So this one, and we want to bring our bottom teeth drawing back. So there we go. So now we've got our design. Now, another thing that people like to do when they're working with their designs like this, and I'm going to show it off now because I think that it starts to become more relevant. Right now, we're working with our character in front of the design, but it's also very beneficial at this stage because we're kind of starting to miss details. And if you notice, I kind of have to zoom over to take a look here. And we can add a little taper to our tooth here, actually, and maybe we should do that. It would probably look pretty good. But you can start to see that I'm starting to like not be able to track the designs. So if you go to back here and we bring our post sheet in front of our character. So I'm just using Alt arrow up. And what that does, oops, we'll bring our transparency over here. And now when you get to this pose, we should be able to see, oh, actually, let's do this. I'll add a peg on top of this. I'll just call it Z depth. And then this will affect all of the pegs. There we go. There you go. So I'm a bit worried about the position, but I think I need to see how the other mouths form before I start moving things around. All right, so let's go to the next one because that matches. That's pretty good, although this looks like to be a little bump right here. I want to smooth out. Okay. All right, so now we do it again. And I'm going to lock my pose sheet. And in this case, because we're starting to get into mouths that are the rounded edges, what I want to do is make sure that I am duplicating the last drawing. So I don't necessarily want to go in and bring this drawing for the same reason, like we're always looking for that continuity. Like in this case, we're starting to look at animation specifically. So with the mouth, you always kind of want to refer to the earlier one. And so I'm just going to, we're on frame 4, so we'll be on drawing 4. So I'm going to duplicate this drawing. So now I've got frame 4 and I can go ahead and edit this. So now, and this is where I was saying like sometimes that top portion of them, in this case, the top portion of the mouth is moving. So I am going to, although I feel like the bottom portion should be moving. So I'm actually gonna, in this case, I'm gonna nudge the design down. Because in this case, the top of the mouth should not be moving. So let's see. Let's go with this peg, and I'm going to deactivate the Z depth, and that'll let me see it. So here, just going to move that down a little. So this is going to change our dynamic a little bit. And this is where I wonder if we have to move the other one down a smidgen. Okay, let's move the other one down a smidgen. All right. So in this case, like you want to do what's best for your character. And for me, I'm happier. I'm happier there. All right. So I'll go back and I will, what we can do is we can compare, if we bring up our coordinate toolbar right here, and this is, as a rigger, this is one of my favorite toolbars, as it really allows me to see. So if I go to this peg, I know that I've pushed the mouth down on this frame here. So if I'm jumping between, this one is So this one here is the, yeah, the north and south coordinates. There we go, position in Y. So it's the middle one right here that I kind of want to keep an eye on. So for this pose here, I've moved it down. I don't know why I can't see the whole thing. I'm going to copy that coordinate. And I'm just going to pop that here a smidgen. I'm going to push it down a little bit. Although in that case, it looks like it's too far down now. Now you can kind of see from pose 1, pose, we'll say 1, 2, 3, but 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. You can see this is a big jump now. So I actually am going to undo that. I'm just going to bring it up a little bit. And I'm basically just trying to prevent the pop from the mouth being open. I think that's probably a little bit better. And I'm literally just, I'm basically just flipping through the drawings. I'm just giving that an eyeball. It's kind of a tough one to do sometimes, but pretty good. All right, we got that. Okay, I'll match this design now. So I'm just going to jump into my liner, but I can also go to my tool properties and turn on all my layers. And with this button here, the current drawing on top, and I've been saying that throughout the whole time, right? Our artwork is really important, that we're copying and pasting over the whole thing. So now I can just move both layers at once and it will automatically do that for me. And I might move those teeth a little bit, but all right, so this one on our 4th drawing, I have to edit it. So we're on our 4th drawing. And I'm not going to be looking directly at, all right, so this is a little bit too high now. But this is what I mean, like we want to align our top, the top of the mouth. We are going to, I'm going to leave it. I'm not going to make any changes. And I'm just going to do this just to affect the bottom of the mouth shape. And then I'll refill. All right, and we're getting closer. Okay, well, still looks low. But we'll find something in between. We'll find something in between. Okay. All right, let's put on the onion skin and we'll just double check while we're here. All right, so, okay. So when we turn on our onion skin, we can clearly see, now I can really see it. We can see, I'm gonna deactivate the teeth for a quick second. But here, it's right there. So we do wanna bring this up a little bit higher. And I think what we'll do is, so we're gonna adjust our drawings. We're gonna adjust our pose sheet. All right. So on frame 4, it's a little bit still a little bit low. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the artwork and match it. If you're not adjusting your where your camera is at this point, so like if you're not zooming in and out, you can literally count your clicks. So what I mean by that is shift ups and downs. If I go shift up 1, or shift up again, that's 2. Shift up again, that's 3 clicks. So if I shift up 3 times on my drawing, it actually lets me shift up in a really similar way in the camera view for the post sheet. So I actually just moved the artwork, but now I'm going to move the post sheet to reflect it. So I'm just going to go shift up 1, 2, and in this case, I think it's actually half. So if I do one more, I'll do one more. I'll do 3 and 3. But I'm pretty sure the way that actually works is your drawings move at a different rate as your camera tool. This is not a great time to explain that. That's a bit more of a complex thing to we won't cover that right now. We won't cover that right now. But if you're not zooming in and out when you're shift and clicking, again, you'll be able to work with like clean numbers. Do you think it's worth giving a quick explanation of the? Oh, great question. The onion skin tool is a great point. The onion skin tool, it basically allows you to look through previous drawings. And when you're working with cutout characters, we don't use it too much. It's more of a traditional animation tool. Um, because you'll be able to see like your keyframes. So then with the onion skin tool, what you can do with cutout specifically is you can like key into smaller details. So with the mouth, it works really well. So like you can click on it. It basically is like let's see. This is a you can't see. You can't see the drawing. Let me go back. Do this. All right, so the way that it kind of works, you got the reds and the greens mean go forward, and the reds mean behind. If you think about it like that. So what that means is we're looking at basically the image of the next image is in green, and then behind, when you go backwards, if you're looking backwards, you can see, and in this case, it's hard to see because we have a closed mouth, but I actually just deleted the fill, you'd be able to see it a lot clearer. So here you can see the little faint line of the drawing from the past. So I'll bring that back. And then you can adjust these handles. The onion skin tool is actually pretty complex. And I can talk about it a little bit longer, but I kind of want to keep working on the mouth. But and we don't typically use it in cutout animation, mainly because it becomes a very heavy tool. So you can pop it on, you can use it, but then it's best to turn it off so that you're not weighing down your scene. But if you are getting into traditional animation, this is a really, really cool tool. It's really worth looking into it if you want to. But for the mouth, it's just a really nice tool to kind of see where your drawings are lining up. And again, at this stage, we're pretty much animating, so this is a great tool to use, time to use it. And I believe you can change it to. Let me see. I think there's one more thing that I will show about onion skin. You can change if you go to the onion skin tab. You can literally turn on and off drawings to say exactly which ones you want to see. And then they're all connected. They can be all connected. And then the other thing that you can do is you can change it so that it's a colored outline. And I find that one sometimes is very handy. But because we're working with fills here, let me see if I can turn that off. I don't think I can though. No. All right. So here, can't turn that off because our colors are filled. You can't really see through the past drawings. But if you delete the fill like I just did, you can see it. And then you have all these different options to see your other option, like all the drawings. But again, I like to see the colored outlines because that to me is usually the best one. But we'll just leave it. No, not in original colors, just colored. There we go. And I think you can also change your colors. Yeah, if you don't want to look at that angry red, you can change your colors right here. But I'm not going to do that. I don't mind the red being in that case. All right, so turn that off. All right, so now I have fixed it so that my first 2 drawings where the mouth is starting to open, what I have here is that It's just that the top lip is cemented. Now, right now, the top lip is totally cemented. And again, we don't want necessarily that to be, we don't want it to be cemented completely. But in this case, I'm going to leave it and we'll change it afterwards because what we want to make sure is we're not creating that pop in the upper lip too. So right now we'll just focus on the mouth opening. And I think we've gotten to a spot where I can move forward. So let's see. And if I have to change it afterwards, what we can do is a completely different trick to change all those drawings, make them aligned. All right, so now we're here. So we're on drawing 5. I'm going to make a new one. So I'll just duplicate it. Bring me back here. Also, I guess we're filling it right now, but if you don't even want to, we can always fill these later. That might even be that might be a better way of animating. Here, you can just delete the fills completely. It will break our cutter, but we don't necessarily need them at this point. We know it works. So here we go. All right. Now this one, we know it's an extreme, so we know the mouth is going to open a lot more. Ooh. Keep adding these extra points somehow. Don't know how. All right. Another reason why it's kind of good to get used to working with your drawings in the way that I work with my drawings, I was able to naturally really take to deformers in a really clean way. So this is actually something it's a really smart way to kind of to move naturally, I guess. Because eventually when you start to move deformers, if you are actually deforming your mouth into this shape, because that's also an option, um, you want to move your deformers in the same way that I'm moving my contour points with a lot of like precision. And so when you're being really careful in this sense, it will translate to harder rigs. So with rigging, it's kind of always thinking about backwards and forwards at once. So it's a lot to think about, but hopefully with enough practice, like these things just start to come naturally. And you now, if you're following along with this, you have all these tools kind of at the beginning of your career instead of at the end. So it's really cool to think about like where you're gonna take this technology next. Because if I can make a lot of these processes easier for you much earlier on in your career, you're going to be able to. I don't know what you're going to do in the next couple of years with rigs. So I'm really excited to see where that technology is going to go eventually. But for the most part, we got to practice being careful. So that's the downside. Okay, so we got our next one, and we're gonna finish off this one. Now, this pose here is basically a throwback to an earlier pose. So I'm gonna duplicate this drawing so that you can see. We're on drawing 6, but I'm gonna steal this one. And I'm gonna leave that post right here. And actually, I'm gonna turn on my onion skin. So this is a good time to see that. And I want to make sure I'll use these handles so that I can kind of see which one is fading. All right, so this one, okay, we got it's our closed mouth. So we got our open mouth. Switch over to the colored lines. I also want to switch over. I don't want to actually look at all these. I'm going to do this way. Ooh. All right, so just setting that up so I can kind of see where I want to, where I'm going, but also where I've been. That's kind of, so I've got more backwards drawings than forward drawings. So, all right, so the design, the first rotation, then we've got our mouth opening. Then we've got our mouth opening more. So here to here to here. I think this design needs to be moved down a little bit. And then we've got this one. This one, basically this one here should be closer to this one. So I'm going to move this design down. So that the lip kind of matches. There we go. And then I want to move this one down as well. So there we go. Yeah. So make it not so extreme. Yeah, and actually, you could see it very clearly. So my clicks. So I just did that clicking thing where I was counting. This is a Flash trick, actually. If you remember working in Flash, this was like a very, very standard method of working. When you're animating, you're like, okay, 2 clicks over, and then 2 clicks up, and whatever. So you were always counting how you're moving things because there was no other way of doing it. I've only tried deformers once, and they didn't really make sense to me. So I'm looking forward to converting that topic when we get there. Yes, we'll get into deformers. It's again, it's like the next level of rigging. So I want to make sure that we're good before we go. We dive into any more. But yeah, We'll definitely get into deformers because we'll do deformers kind of all at once. But yeah, the clicks, the shift clicks. So if you're not zooming, it takes 2 clicks to go in a drawing than it does to go in one in the camera. So what I mean by that is I just moved my peg for the design. I shifted it down twice, and then it took me 4 clicks inside my drawing to move it down the same amount. So that's what I mean. So I mentioned that I wasn't going to cover it. It was a bit complex, but it's because I was working with such a small thing that it's not obvious to see. But when we're working with um, the outlines of the onion skin, you can see it a little bit more. It's not so overwhelming. So there you go. That is your onion skin answer. A throwback to the onion skin question. But yeah, that's okay. So we got open mouth. I'm a little bit happier with what's going on there. And then we got this one, this design. I'm gonna turn these off real quick. Yeah, it's just good practice. Like it sounds like a lot to kind of manage and kind of keep track of, but it works. It works. And Monster's doing so well. She's being so good. That bone really worked. Okay. Next one is the O. All right. So in this case, I'm just going to remove the top contours. All right. And then I mentioned I wanted to add another drawing here. Now, only because like usually when we get into animation, there's a little bit more of an ooh. There's like the and then there's a ooh. So we want to actually add that extra ooh, but it's a really this is a very standard drawing and a very like quick one. So I'm on frame 8, so I should be on drawing 8. So I've copied it, duplicated it, and I'll paste it, but I'm going to move it a little bit forward and up, and just going to, right, and I'm going to delete the old one, and then it's going to go, ooh, there we go. So now we can quickly run through all of our drawings, make sure that everything's kind of on model. That one's tricking me a little bit. Yeah, let's move that one down a smidgen. Do two clicks. That looks pretty good. So the mouth is opening at a very subtle rate. So it's nothing seems out of line. Nothing seems like it's popping. I feel like this might need to be a little bit smaller. And obviously when we bring our character back, be able to take a look. All right. All right, so we can save this. We can do our fill now as well. I go back in and make sure that's all colored properly. And actually we can, this is a cool trick. Instead of filling all of our, let's go to our timeline real quick. I'm going to zoom in. We can see all of our drawings, bring up the thumbnails, and we'll do a cool trick. So you can grab the mouth color. You can go to your tool properties, or your tool properties tab. Yeah, all right. And then this button right here is apply to all frames. So this is a really cool tool. I was thrilled when this if I have to say my second favorite tool, this is probably it. Apply to all frames. It's a danger tool though, so you want to be careful. They typically there is a button right here. Yeah, apply to all frames. So you want to watch out. It's a warning sign. So when you see the stop sign, stop. Make sure you're paying attention, because in the same way that you can accidentally delete all your exposures by deleting one exposure, you can really make some changes to your whole drawing. So what we're going to do is we're going to fill these drawings out over one in one click. So what do I mean by that is I'm just going to go to my my paint tool. I've got this turned on, and I'm just going to paint. And that should paint all layers, apply to all frames. Okay, let's do it again. Did it do it? Yeah, there we go. It did do it. Just gotta flip through the drawings to see them all. And I missed one. But there we go. So that's a really quick way of painting all your layers. We do have to go in. I'm done with that tool, so I'm going to turn it off immediately. And then we do have to go in and just cut the artwork. I'll go back to this one. But now I'm just cutting and jumping between the lines, so it's not painting and cutting, which actually takes a little bit of time because you usually have to go through this twice. This process. One for the painting, one for the cutting and pasting. That tool makes it pretty quick for the first part, especially when you have a lot of drawings to paint. It does save you a lot of time. And then I also like going through this the second part manually, because it just gives me just like a quick check to make sure that everything is working well. All right, so that looks good. That looks good. And we're going to do We're going to be able to finish this up, but we're also going to probably have a little bonus time, in which case I will finish the eye and we will have a whole face finished. So that's very exciting to be at this point of the process where you really see something. It took us 5 weeks. This takes me a morning. No, not all the mouths, but it takes me a morning to get here. So I'd be in a 5 days. That's what we got. That's 10 hours. That's just over a day. So if I was working on this for a whole day, where would I be in the process? I would have almost my whole front view completely done by now. So yeah, we're getting there. We're getting closer. All right, so let's make sure our drawings are on model, and we have our teeth. So we got to bring our teeth in here. And at this stage, it's actually a little bit easier just to go to the end and hit F5 to extend your exposures. And then your teeth are in all your drawings from what's left. And that's okay. I'm also going to bring back the Z depth so we can see where our teeth should be and we can make adjustments. So in this case, we might want to move the teeth down and so let's see, I'm going to go into the drawings. Which one am I on? I'm going to be moving these down by, I'm also going to straighten this tooth out because it's a little lopsided. I'm shift clicking, so I'm counting. When filling the mouth might be a good opportunity to use create color art from line art. Probably. Again, I think that just leaves strokes, so that's why I avoid it. But I'm not sure. Maybe that way you could fill on all frames, but already on the color art layer. I'm not totally sure. I don't remember. I can't remember. Part of me wants to go back and undo some stuff so I can try that. But I also want to clone the eye and add a static transformation real quick so we can have a face. So we'll see. Okay, well, we'll see. Because I'm pretty sure you can. I don't use that tool mainly because if it's leaving strokes, I don't use it. So if you do that and you find that it's got the strokes, it's up to you at that point. But again, I find that when you're using the stroke tool, it just kind of creates a little bit of like digital clutter. So I'm always trying to avoid that. So, but I'm not sure if it does. It might just add the color. I don't remember. But yeah, so I'm gonna move the teeth down, but I want to shift click. So I'm just selecting all using shift and moving down 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That might be too much. And then I'm going to jump into the other teeth and I'm going to shift 6 times 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. But in this case, that was too far. I want to make sure I'm onto the design. All right. And again, we can create a little tapered line right there. That would actually look really nice. All right, and then now in this case, for the teeth, I'm gonna leave the teeth because we don't have pegs. This is where we start to use the pegs for the teeth. So I'm not going to pose out the teeth just yet. I'm just going to leave. I'm gonna turn the tongue on, then the tongue should be on. Where is the tongue? Oh, my teeth are in the way. That's why. Okay. So leave that. So I just want to make sure that the tongue is matching the design. So angle it down a little. There we go. So that looks better. And again, when we have pegs, we'll finish up the teeth. And then in this case, we are going to have to actually change the shape of the tongue. So I'm going to duplicate the drawing here. So if we go show that off, you can see I'm going to duplicate the drawing. I'm going to change this. I'm just going to move the color. And in this case, my tongue's kind of rooted at the back in the same spot. So I want to try to be mindful that I'm not moving that too much. Again, with rigging, you're always thinking about like the next thing and like the most biological ways of doing things. So there we go. So that kind of adds a little dimension. And let's smooth this out because it shouldn't be so boxy. And I'll turn that off. There we go. That looks good. Maybe I'll pinch that a little bit more. Okay, so now we've got our second image for the tongue. Oh, I'm missing. Oh, no, I'm just looking at this thinking there's something missing, but I don't think that there is. It's just taking a minute to reload. There we go. And then we can go to our next drawing. And we're good. Our top teeth won't be there at that point. And we can go back to the regular tongue. And then for our last one, we won't even have that there. So I think we are done our drawings for our mouth. It'll just be now adding our pivot points. And again, nobody wanted to learn hierarchies, so we're not going to do that yet. We'll do that at the end. It doesn't not make strokes when you paste color into the, it doesn't actually, you still don't understand strokes. It's totally fine. They are literally digital clutter. It's totally fine. Okay, so let's do it. Let's figure it out, and then I'll delete the drawing. So we'll go to our mouth shape here. Where is that drawing? Why is it not showing me on the library? There it is. All right, so we'll go to frame 10, and then I'll just delete everything from frame 10. All right, so we'll just do this real quick. We're doing an experiment. So we've got frame 5. I want to make sure I'm looking at the right spot. All right, so frame 5, and then we'll do frame 6, and we'll do frame 7. 7. Okay, so now we've got here, but I don't want to, in my experiment, I'm not using the drawings that I am already using for our rotation and our pose, our quarter front mouth chart. So what we want to do is I'm going to duplicate these drawings because I'm going to go in and I'm going to delete them afterwards. So I'm going to duplicate all of them. So 9, 10, and 11. Right here, so we got 9, 10, and 11. I do not want to be using those, and they will not affect the timeline at all because I'm not using them here. And you, again, if you take a look, I've made the images, the thumbnails for the mouth drawing larger, and you can actually see the drawings in the bottom left-hand corner. So 9, 10, and 11, they're very isolated. So when I go to delete them, I do not risk deleting all of my mouth drawings. Again, you always want to, very important, and only you'll do it once, and then you'll realize how important it is to watch out. All right, so what we're gonna do, so the question that's asked is, can we add our fills with one swoop? Now I don't remember where the see what this looks like. I do want to do it this way. No, kind of select. There we go. But keep my time cursor on the first drawing. Because we'll use this tool if we need to. All right, so where is that important 20%? Yes, yes. All right. When you've got 5 drawings, it took me 2 hours. If I didn't notice, it would take me a little less in production, but I'm talking so much. But All right, so we want to create, all right, let's create color art from line art. And the hotkey is the little, it's 8, it's shift 8. It's this one right here. So create color art from line art. So let's see. Let's do this. We'll apply it to all frames, and we'll click. Did I do it? Am I doing it? Is it working? I don't want my line taper tool. It's freaking me out using that tool. All right, let's turn that off for a quick second. And I'll just go, I won't use the hotkey because I don't know if I'm using the hotkey correctly. Oh, you know what it's doing? Okay, wait, hang on. Yes, so this is what it's doing. So it's not filling. It's not filling, and now I almost want to double check to make sure that I didn't add. I didn't. Okay. All right. So it's not adding our color. So okay. So this is a stroke. So this is what a stroke is. So if I turn off the strokes, which is hitting K, um, it's gone. But you can see it. So you can't see it, but it's there. So if I deselect it, it's invisible. It's literally an invisible line. That's literally what a stroke tool is. So I don't like them because all of a sudden in my artwork there is, depending on what tool I'm using, all of a sudden like you kind of have this artwork in the way. So that's why I don't use that tool. But a lot of productions do use strokes, so it's really just a preference. A lot of again, it's digital clutter. It's weight to a scene when you're always trying to think about what's the easiest way that I can do this so that I'm not adding weight to the scenes in the down the pipeline. Um, so that's why I don't use it. And let's see, I think it probably did it. It would have done it for. Oh no, it didn't do it for all of them. But maybe I have to turn that tool back on to let's see it. And again, and if you're the reason why I don't like using it too is if you're a new animator and if you don't know that it's there, it just gets in the way. So it's just it's an extra precaution. It's not a bad tool. It's not. There's nothing wrong with using strokes. It's just yeah. It's just artwork that if you don't know it's there, there's a couple things in the program where if you don't know it's there, it can become a hindrance, and so I just limit it. Yeah. But let's see. Let's try this, and let's just add it to all of the layers. All right, and I'll turn that off, and I'll just see if it worked. So it's on this. Yeah, so you can apply it to all layers, and then you could fill. So you could do the same trick where you just fill uh, that way. So that does work. You could do it. There's no reason why you couldn't do it. A million ways to do something. A million ways to do one thing. All right, so we can go back. I'm going to delete all these drawings. This is great practice. Again, we're just going to delete these exposures and oh, I keep going to the wrong one. Delete drawings, delete selected drawings. And again, I'm watching my drawing substitution just to make sure because I don't want them to be changed. And actually, I colored these the wrong color. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to use this tool here. This is going to actually select the color. So this is a fun one as well since I've recolored this the wrong way. Go back to my color tool and I will just change it so that it is the proper inner mouth color. And I'm going to get out of that. Where's my tool properties? I got to turn off my apply to all frames and my drawing tools. I do not want that to be on by accident. And then there we go. Yeah, so our mouth is done. Our exposures are drawn for the character. And now, because we have a little bit of time, I want to give Cadence a real face. So now we'll have to do this again, but Cadence should have an eye. So let's quickly go through this. We haven't totally finished this group yet. I can delete these. I don't need these. I will need to do the hierarchy. You know what? We got time. Let's do the hierarchy now. And because nobody wanted to see what a hierarchy was, create more clutter. Yeah. Fewer clicks. And actually, not even fewer clicks in a way. Well, maybe it is. Yeah, it is fewer clicks in a way. But yeah, digital clutter. Yeah, let's do the hierarchy. So I'm going to show you some of my tricks for this. Since we get like 10 minutes, we can do this. There's enough time, especially with something so small. Actually, let me deactivate these again. So I'm going to just quickly, as I mentioned, I like to start fresh, make sure that all of my pegs are, I'm going to delete, come on, delete. I'm going to delete all these pegs and I'm going to recreate them. Just because I want to make sure there's no information on those drawings, to make sure that at this stage nothing pops, nothing moves. I'm going to really quickly run and grab my other drawing, my design. Here we go. And I'll go back into the network. So I'm going to recreate these pegs. Give them a little space. And when you start to get into the hierarchy like this, there's a couple things that I like to keep in mind, and these are the tricks. So when you're using your Bezier selector, you can only grab rectangles. So you can grab like a horizontal rectangle, and you can grab a vertical rectangle. So when we're working with the hierarchies, we want to think from, again, we want to kind of go from big to small in this case, or you can do smaller things, but we're going to start stacking our pegs. And the stacking is where we're going to start to see some tricks and some like shortcuts. So how does this work? So we're going to have our eye. We know we need a pupil. I know we need a master peg to get into like the smaller details. So, and this is really what Harmony is like famous for. Like, so now we're not just Flash. You could basically just go like this. Let's more like this. This is how a flash rig looks. If you were building a flash rig in Harmony, it would look like this, because you can grab a peg and you can grab the whole face or the whole character, and then you could go in and you can grab each piece individually. But with hierarchies and with Toon Boom and Harmony, you can get actually more levels and more details. So this is where it becomes more interesting. So instead of just doing like the top peg, which would be called the master peg, we typically have a master peg that controls everything. So it's like what is that? The one ring to rule them from Lord of the Rings. So you got one big master peg here, but what we want to do is we don't really want to start with that. What you want to do is start smaller. So do we want a peg that controls both of our eyelids? Maybe. So we can grab one and connect it. Actually, I can actually just grab both and connect it this way as well. So in this case, you want to take the shortest route. So when you get into hierarchy, you have to get into naming, which is kind of, for me, that takes me longer because I'm a slow typer. So what I do is, instead of selecting two drawings and doing it this way, because here you can see it's just labeled this peg, which is boring. And so I will grab a lid and then I'll connect it. But when I'm sharing a peg that isn't necessarily sharing the same spot, I'll put it in the middle. So here I've just kind of split the difference. Now that will make more sense in a second. Now for the eye peg, I'll do the same thing. So we have the eye. This is going to be the peg that selects the eye and all of the middle pieces. I just realized we didn't add a highlight to Kade's eye, and we might want to add that, but we won't add it right now. I'll maybe leave a note and I'll leave a space in the network and I'll do this. This will be another day. Add highlight. All right. And so I know that I want to have a peg that also controls all of the pieces on the inside of the eye. So I'll do this. And then I'll connect this. And then the eye master will connect everything. So now I've got a peg that is selecting all the details of the eye minus all the other details. So we've got these winkles. It does grab the eyelids. Those are kind of like the eye itself. And now I need something for this winkle and I need something for the eyebrow. So I'm going to do this one more time. And I don't think they need to be separate. They can stay like this. But now what I've done, and this is a very small example of the trick that saves a lot of time, is one, I don't have, like, I have to go in and rename these. If you've ever worked with me before, if you've ever had if you know anything about rigging, the number one thing that you don't want to do is you don't want to not rename your pegs. And it's going to become very apparent when you go to the timeline. So let me save it real quick. Okay, I'll start wrapping this up. But I-P-P, you don't know what you're looking at in this case. So you've also got an I-P-P, and if I zoom up, like, and I start to work with this, like, you don't know what it is that you're trying to grab. So we want to always be very careful how we're naming things, but I can also recognize that half of my naming is kind of done now. And then the next thing that's super fast is actually setting these pegs. So this eye is done. I'm going to connect the top of the multi-port to the top of the eye network. So again, our multi-ports are kind of like the sandwich, the bread of the sandwich. And so what we're going to do is if I grab all these pegs, they're all at 0, 0, which in our case is really close to the character's face, but sometimes it's like way off. So what I like to do is I like to select all of my pegs all at once, and then I put them where they need to be. So in this case, we're going to use a new tool, which is the rotate tool. You can also use the translate tool, but I like the rotate tool because if you want to test something, you can actually spin it and it rotates. And I find for builds, that's a very easy way to really quickly test. So I'm just going to put this tool here, and we've got the little dash, the circle that goes around it. So I'm just going to put that at the bottom of his eyelid. That's a pretty standard place to put it. But what I've now done is I've put all of the pegs that I've created in that one spot. And so now what I get to do is I can kind of blow through a network very, very, very quickly. So those don't need to move. They can stay. For our pupil position, I'm going to hide the eyelids again so I can see. For the pupil position, here, this one might be, here I can grab all of these networks because they're basically going into the same spot. And that's going to be right here, about center, which is just a standard place to put them. And then if I double check my eyelids, they are pretty good. So I can actually center these just a little bit more. But now they're all in the same spot. Now, the reason why we do this is because I'm going to open up my layer properties. If you are going in and doing this one by one, you're going to notice that your pivot point coordinates don't match, and that's actually going to cause problems for animators down the way. So this is just a very quick way of doing this. You can also copy and paste the artwork. And again, we'll get into this a little bit further when we go into the body and we start doing this in a bigger setting. But for today, that's good. There's a little bonus assignment And yeah, we'll just set, and then we can set our two eyebrows as they are. I'm gonna throw that right in the middle instead of doing the one side. And the winkle can probably stay where it is. I'm gonna leave it. And then I'll just go in and rename them as we are. This one is the lid main. Just a typical way to rename things is going using the main, the idea of a main peg, and then we're gonna have two eyes here. So the top one with the dash PP is going to be master. It's like the top master peg. And then typically what happens when you're in the middle, I use the term mother, but I don't think that everybody does. Sometimes people will add other things. So it just becomes like I whole, like whole as in all of it, or I all. Like I said, I've used mother in the past. Just I think just to stick with M's. I don't know. We can just say all. In this case, yeah, and then there we go. So we're still gonna need to when we go to all right, so what am I gonna do? I'm basically going to create the other eye. I'm gonna use a static transformation just to put it in place, just so that we have a whole face. That's kind of a nicer picture. I'm dying to have a picture of his face, of their face. So let's do that. So I'm gonna copy, and I'm actually I don't even need to copy. I'm just gonna select it, and here we'll call this the is this one. This is the front eye, so IF. It'll still need deformers and things on the inside, but we'll get there when we get to deformers. So when we select this group, I'm just going to go to the node, the hamburger menu, and then go to nodes, and then go to clone selected nodes drawings only. And that's going to give me a nice little duplicate of the eye. So in a similar fashion, then we'd be copying and pasting, and the monster is about to start getting loud. So I'm going to wrap this up quick and back. I do have an extra eyebrow in place. Oh, you're okay. Can you give me a minute? We're almost done. We're almost done. We're almost done. Go find it. All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a peg, and I'm just going to flip this real quick. So flip, and I'm going to put it where I want it to be. So I'm just using the arrow keys right now. I'm going to get rid of the extra eyebrow. I don't need that on right now. We should probably add handles. We'll have to go over some handles. All right, so now we've got, oh, you're so close. You're so close. I'm gonna turn this drawing off. The handles will allow us to turn these drawings back on easily. So we'll add those, I'll probably add those again. I'll go back and add them. But now we've got our face, and if I want to keep that eye there and kind of like put a pin in it, what we can do is go to our node finder. Oh, come on. That's not what I want. And I'm going to add a static transformation. Static. I will pop that in between, inside the static transformation. And again, we're going to be doing this again. Static transformations are my favorite thing because they're so fast. So we're just going to say bake immediate parent transformations. And it's basically going to take all the information that we just put inside that peg, and it's going to put it inside the static transformation. But what that's going to do is it's going to create your information twice. So now we're going to have a double negative. And you'll see what I mean when I do that. So I'm going to hit the button, and you'll see this these windows fill. So close, so close. So there we've got our transformation information plus our flip. You can see that on the x-axis. And then you can also see that our information has kind of jumped back to where it was. It's a little offset right here. But we're going to, once you delete that peg, it goes right back to where it should be. So now our character has a face. If we make any changes to this group, which we will, we'll go back, we'll make some updates to that eye, adding some handles. I think that's a good idea. And then we can basically just clone this group again. So super easy. Did I not grab it? Nodes. Why are you not selecting nodes? There we go. And then we just pop it in, remove the old one, and again, once we turn that eyebrow extra drawing off, it's done. So that's the benefit of using static transformations. We can now have unlimited fixes, essentially. And yeah, that's it. So we're done. So a little late, but we got through a whole bunch today. So drawing instances for the mouth, and we quickly did a little peg hierarchy inside the eye. And that's it. So I hope that you all have a really nice week, and we're kicking off November now. Forgot to say Happy Halloween on the last one, but I hope everyone had a happy Halloween over the weekend and had some cool costumes. I was checking out a lot of animators' costumes because they are the best. So much work and care gets put into those. But yeah, super fun to have you hanging around again with me for this week. And I can't wait to dive into next week where if I just really quickly go select all and activate, we can see our character and we can jump. Oh, well, we're jumping, but we're not going to the other pictures. Yeah, we'll keep going. Next week we will we'll either keep going with the body, or I mean we can really finish the head by adding deformers. So I don't know. So maybe that'll be another poll. So we'll either continue with the body or we'll really finish the head. Yeah. All right, cool. So stay tuned for next week, and yeah, thank you for sitting in on the stream. See you soon. Bye. Oh, Maybel.